model metrics made manageable, sad circles and saggy supports, and quality quits quickly on Qidi's first pass. All this and more, PrintFix Friday, episode 230. Let's get into it. Starting off with what I actually think is a really valuable question. Test print. Now what? They're very new to 3D printing, and they've printed some really cool and simple things, but they want to dive deeper into the hobby and expand to multicolor printing. They want to master the Anycubic Neo 2 Kobra that they happen to have, and they printed this torture test. And there's a lot going on here. Some of it good, some of it bad. We've got what appears to be some pretty serious over extrusion. If we look all around this part, we can see that it has ridges. But further, toward the edges, it gets much worse. Now, that could be indicative of it just building up as it gets to the edge. More likely, it's that the first layer is starting to warp up a little bit on the edges, because when we look at it elsewhere, it looks okay. We got a little bit of stringing. Not too bad when you consider a torture test. Yes, I'm sure you can really dial that in. If you want to mess with your retraction settings, mess with your temperature settings, you can. But understand, when you do that, you are going to impact your overhang performance. These torture tests are often for you to dial in certain things about the part. I can look at this and tell you it is over extruded, and that's the first thing we need to look at solving. As we talked about before, and is a commonality here on PrintFix Friday, clean ya dang beds. They're dirty, stop touching them with your grubby mitts, and if you need to, wear gloves when handling the print beds, because you don't want the oils from your hands getting onto those print beds. We recommend Windex here, which does have ammonia in it, which people have brought up that ammonia is technically bad for PEI, but in the concentrations we're looking at, we've seen no issues for literal years. And if you do ever see issues, a magic eraser, aka melamine foam, and a little bit of the wax on, wax off grasshopper, and she's back to business in no time. But the overhang performance, very happy with it. So the cooling on this machine, in my opinion, is set pretty darn well. We might want to drop a couple of degrees, maybe 5, 10 at the most. But the big one that I want to dig into is why this thing is over extruding so much. The warping and the over extruding on the edges, I still think is because of a bad first layer. And I wish that we had a picture of the bottom side of it so we could take a look and see what it looks like. But for a printer of this price category, to be able to do the standing sphere like this, honestly, I'm calling that a win. Cut your extrusion by maybe 2 to 5%. I would start at 0.98 or 98% extrusion multiplier, go down to 0.95 if you need to, and just kind of dial that in. This test has some tolerance testers right here. Those 4 circles are tolerance testers, and you can also measure them with calipers so you're able to really determine what needs to be done. Maybe there's some belts that are loose or something like that. I want to see reduced extrusion multiplier. Be careful, be careful, be careful, be careful when you are changing settings. I would change 1, maybe 2 settings at a time here, because you can start to get compounding errors. And you might think, oh, the temperature did it, but you also changed your retraction. So which actually impacted the part the most? We don't know. And if you can, and you don't mind the extra time, changing things incrementally is a much safer way to do this and will give you a better idea as to what the actual answer for all of this is. But I'd love to know from you all down below. I'm sure everybody has been in this position at least once, where they're new to the hobby, they want to dig a little bit deeper, but getting to that point of understanding can be complicated. If you have been there before, let me know, let everybody else know, what got you over that edge? What helped you become a little bit more confident? Because we would like to put together a video series on becoming more confident with your 3D printer. We recognize that so many machines these days are just click, print, and go. And that's nice and everything, but if you want to really dig into tuning the ever-loving crap out of printers, getting tolerances that machinists can really look at and say, damn, yeah, you're going to be playing around with settings more than just clicking print on your Bambu and hoping for the best. And yes, there are use cases where just clicking print on a Bambu works just fine. Some people like the technical aspect of it. Some just want the product to do its job. Some really want to understand it on a technical level, and we want to help those people out. And if you're one of those people, let us know. Don't forget to leave a like while you're down there. My name's Grant. It's 3D Musketeers. PrintFixFriday, where we help you get your printers back to printing with purpose. We'll help you out totally for free. Film a video, tag us on YouTube or on Instagram, I guess, you know, wherever. We'll take a look at it. We'll feature it in episodes if it's something that's a little bit more difficult, but we'll help you solve your problems totally for free. It's what we love to do here. Moving on, we got what can I do about this overhang misprinting inside a cylindrical tunnel. So we've got something that if you've tried to do countersunk screws or, you know, screws that are blind in a hole like this, where it tries to make the new inner diameter for the actual bolt to go through and then the head to get stuck in there, and, well, there's nothing there to support it. There are a couple of ways you can do this. One, support it. Remember, kids, support the bottom. It needs your support. Or two, you can make it a poly hole inside of Orca Slicer, which they are using. There is an option for turning holes into poly holes, which will make it a little bit easier. You can also, assuming you're designing this yourself, when you are designing the actual surface, instead of making it circular, you make it 2 rectangles that are stacked 0.2 millimeters off of each other. So it will bridge across for one rectangle, and then the next layer, it bridges across for the next one, and it creates an almost perfect circle with pretty much 0 drooping, and when your screw is in there, you won't see it anyways, and it's a win. Then you don't have to dig support material out, because that sucks. Nobody likes doing it. But if it is a through hole, you can easily use something like an Allen key, which I am certain all of you have collections of these laying around from the various retailers that send them with the 3D printers. But you have a couple of options, right? To me, poly hole or design it in and remove the support, so much easier. But if you do want to add the support because you don't feel like changing the file or converting to a poly hole, put support in there, knock it out with an Allen key, assuming it's a through hole, and life's good. Moving on to bottom layer ugliness with ASA/CF single or multicolor. They've been trying to dial in the printing of Bambu's ASA/CF on their H2D or X1 carbon, but they're running into an issue with the bottom layer of the prints. While the rest of the print appears to be very nice, that bottom layer doesn't really work all that well. Admittedly, like we've talked about, they're not really skilled when it comes to troubleshooting the machines, so they've only tried a couple of things, which is to increase the initial layer flow to 1.02 from 1, and they slowed down the initial layer speed from 50 to 25 millimeters per second. This is actually, you're a little too far from the plate. If you want to cheat, textured build plate. It removes all the crap, but you can cheat even further. Tell your Bambu it's a textured plate, and then don't put a textured plate on it. From our understanding of, at least on the X1 carbon, if you tell it it's a textured plate, but you use a smooth plate, it will go a little bit closer than it would if it was a smooth plate. You turn off the fact that the machine will detect the build plate, and it won't know that it's not printing on the build plate that it's supposed to be. Just make sure, of course, your smooth plate can handle the temperatures that you're gonna be running the textured plate at, or just want a freaking textured plate. The texture will kind of hide some of this, and of course, because it's a little bit closer to the bed, it'll squish out and fill in those voids. But this is where fine-tuning of a 3D print comes in, and hilariously, the lack of control that you get with a Bambu printer can actually kind of bite you in the butt, because there isn't a very easy way, at least not on my revision of X1 Plus, for the X1 carbon to adjust its Z offset. I don't know about the H2D. I assume maybe there's a way, but often you would just have to do it inside of the slicer. But what we found for things like maker coins and things like that, if you want the bottom layer to look good, put it on a freaking textured plate. It's still gonna look really good, and quite frankly, unless you need that shimmer and that shine, that bottom textured surface, I think, makes the letters look a lot better, at least in my experience. But if you are doing these multicolor bottom side parts, love to know your thoughts. as to how you would handle this. You could also, of course, look at printing the parts separately and adhering them together in post, but of course that completely removes the point of having an X1 carbon with that AMS and utilizing it, or an H2D in this case, with 2 freaking nozzles that can just quickly do the thing, although technically it's just one moving up and down, so that doesn't really work. It's just more of that, but whatever. I think if we get a little bit closer, just a little bit closer, everything will be good. Next up, we got a Qidi Q2, poor first layer quality between features. Kind of the same, but a little bit different. We are too far. Now, the thing is, it only looks like we're too far in the features, but in fact, we're too far everywhere. I've always said this. If your ruffles have ridges, you're too close. But if there are valleys in between your lines, you're too far away. And if we look, there are clearly valleys on these parts. In fact, down here in that bottom left corner, that actually looks good. It's basically here where it starts to do the larger lines that it starts to look a lot worse. I would look at redoing the bed level on this, getting it ever so slightly closer, maybe 0.05, 0.07, 0.1 at the most. Because if you start to get too close, then you're going to have the ridges, and that's going to produce its own particular problems. But in theory, that should fix it. The fun problem that we're seeing, though, is that the perimeters actually look like they're okay. So you might be dealing with you're moving too fast on that first layer, or you're not hot enough to flow, or you're too hot, right? It's a Qidi Q2. It has a chamber heater. If you're running too hot in the chamber, you can heat creep ever so slightly, which can keep the material from flowing out cleanly. But they're saying it's 245 for the first layer, 250 for everything else, 80C on the bed. That all seems okay. If it's the Elegoo Rapid PETG, which we've used here, in fact, hilariously, there's a bit of a roll behind me. We find that 245 is appropriate for the first layer. 255 we prefer for the other layers. 80C bed temp, though, we find it to be too hot. We normally run 72 degrees Celsius or lower. I know it's a very specific number, but we find any higher than that, it ends up putting too much heat into the chamber of the machine. The machine doesn't easily regulate its temperature inside the chamber like something like the Core 1L or Core 1 from Prusa does, where it has those fans to automatically remove excess heat. And if the chamber gets too hot, your PETG starts to heat creep, and it doesn't push out as nice as you would expect it to. But the clue here for me is that it looks good there, and then it doesn't look good anywhere else. So I actually think this is going to end up being heat creep. But yeah, if you look, those perimeters look really good. Might want to look at slowing down that infill. That could be it as well. Commenters are stating that they might have a partial clog. I'm not really sure I agree with that. I think it could be bad bed leveling. And personally, we get clogs so few when we're printing, and we're printing with lots of material every single month from different brands. We almost never get clogs. I understand that clogs can happen to any machine at any time, but I don't know the workspaces that you all are in, but certainly my workspace is not what anybody would consider the most pristine workspace on the planet. It's not gonna hurt the machine to do a cold pull, so try it, right? If you don't know how to do a cold pull, the best way to do one, heat up the machine, push a little filament through, cool it down to about 100, maybe 90 Celsius, release the pressure on the extruder, and pull it out. I want you to grab it and pull it out like it's a gosh darn Beyblade over here. Beyblade, Beyblade, let it rip! You will keep doing that until you're pulling out clean bits of filament and you can clearly see the nozzle orifice. Sometimes you can get some crap in there, but I feel like a partial clog is similar to wet filament. It is a crutch that people use all the time in this industry without really understanding how little they're actually causing this. I don't think it's a partial clog, but hey, cold pulls are really easy to do. Just do one. See what happens. Last but not least, we got an A1 with some rough surface issues. We can see the edges look good, but the center doesn't look great. I would argue that if this was a brownie, it would be a perfect brownie. It is slightly undercooked in the middle, and it is nice and crispy on the edges. You gotta raise your temp. Simple as that. So what's happening is that this machine is slowing down for the edges, and it is getting up to speed in the middle. Up to speed is too fast for the temperature that you have, and so effectively the polymer is not properly heating as it's being forced out of that nozzle. And that's why it ends up looking the way that it does.
You can tell that it's an aspen tree because of the way it is.
We can see the temperature of 200 as was advised for the Sunlu Meta PLA. I am kind of tired of manufacturers putting numbers on their spools and not saying for what speeds they're for, or whether it's for high flow. It's like, you might as well not put temperatures for printing on your spools because every single printer is different. For PLA, go to 210, 215, 220. Heck, go to 230 if you want. It might string a little bit, but go to 230 if you want. It's totally fine. It runs great, and you can push way more plastic at 230 than you can at 200. But go to 210, 215, 220, see how that goes for you. I think you will have a much better top surface. So not only do we support the bottoms here at 3D Musketeers, we also help you with your tops. And I'm sorry, but if that's not worth a like and subscribe, I don't know what is. But those that help support the top of this channel, I guess that would be me. Their names are listed right next to me at the $5 tier and higher. Thank you to what they do in making videos like this possible. If you do want to join the efforts in assisting us in creating weird content, we'd love that, because we're going to Smurf, and we're going to be raising money by doing dumb stuff. Stay tuned. We actually talked about it in last week's podcast, which I'm card to if you want to watch it. If you haven't heard about what we're doing, stay tuned. There's going to be a video coming out on it really soon. That is all I have for you all today. Stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. And as always, keep making awesome. I will pet you as much as you want when I'm done. I need you here. I'm sorry, but I need you in the bed. Okay? Don't bite me. You're going to bite me. The face says, yeah, the face says you're gonna bite me. I know your faces, cat. I know your faces. You're not. Don't even try it. Don't even look at that. Too fast. Shh.